is going on? We are going to do a unboxing. Mondays tend to be kind of busy days when you order a lot of stuff. I think what happens is it tends to um, sit in the post office, and they are usually a little short-staffed on the weekends. So I know I get a lot of stuff on Mondays. So we're going to go ahead and open it up. I tried doing this live, but had a little issue with the microphone. I thought. Turns out it was okay. So again, we're going to do it old school like this and put it up later. So what we're going to do, again, I don't really know exactly what's here. I'm going to kind of start small and work my way up. I probably shouldn't show that. This is a good old-fashioned bubble wrapper with a comic inside. It feels like they did use some cardboard, but we've got this little thing going on, which always concerns me. So let's see what we have. I do know there's some slabs here, and there's some pretty nice books, but again, sometimes you get things that aren't the biggest and best and all that. So let's see what we got going on. Once again, I have a feeling this is an eBay book. They did not use cardboard. They used good old-fashioned backing boards. What we have is a Fantastic Four 204. Which is an issue that I've kind of been looking for, 204 and 205. I forget who that's I should know this. I should have this memorized, but I don't. And again, this book isn't terribly expensive. Now's a good time to pick it up because if the character does hit, I think it has something to do with the society that the time control, whatever, freaks, whatever the hell it is. But anyway, this is the cameo, and then the big one is 205. But again, this is a good one to get. Like I said, not terribly expensive. It looks like it did take a little bit of a bend, but it doesn't look like it did anything on the corners. It was actually not the spine side. So if your bend happens here, on the spine side, usually it'll do a little bit more damage, or the not spine side, I should say. So over here is where you want to watch, but it looks like it's fine. So we're going to not piss and moan too much about that. But again, if that was an expensive book, I'm sure it wouldn't have been sent that way. So we'll go from there. And we have your custom or your basic mailer here. And in this one, we have, some Spawn books that I ordered actually from a guy on Facebook. Basically, he had a bunch of Spawns for sale, and I'm trying, like everybody else that collects comic books, to complete a Spawn run. So I had some holes. Kind of my goal with this guy, he had some of the big books, you know, the 174s, 185, stuff like that. But to be completely honest, his prices were pretty high on those, so I just kind of stuck with the filler books that were like, my goal was kind of like 20 bucks and under, so everything here isn't terribly expensive. We've got Spawn 99, if you want to know what it looks like. We've got 118. We have 189. This is a killer cover. This is 190 with that spiny Spawn, I guess. 192. Again, kind of a continuation of that. 202. 203. 251. That one's cool. Like that cover a lot. And 250. So that was it. Again, not a huge order, not terribly expensive Spawn books, but just you know, again, the way you've got to do Spawn, to be honest with you, is when you find somebody selling them, you get a few here, a few there. It's kind of hard to pick them all up in one place because there's a lot of folks that are collecting them now. A lot of people doing exactly what I'm doing. I'm happy that I kind of decided I was going to try to fill my run a long time ago. So I got a lot of the more rare books out of the way already, but there still is a few of them that I don't know if I'll ever be able to completely get. I mean, there's books, they're $200, $300 comic books. And again, I don't know if I want to fill the run that bad, but I always keep my eyes open. What's cool about Spawn, and this is kind of a little trick or a little kind of a insider information, it doesn't show up on the Key Collector app, all the books that are worth a lot. They'll show low print and all that. So sometimes you'll find the Spawn books in like half price books and stuff like that fairly cheap, because I'm sure the people that price the comics at half price books uses the Key Collector app and Go Collect and things of that nature to price out their books. And so if they're not showing up as incredibly sought after, first appearance books, a lot of times they won't show up on the Key Collector app. Whereas there's still again, there's still people are looking for them simply to fill runs. So, well, I guess what I'm trying to say in a ton of words is that you can often find them rather inexpensive in other places than just your traditional comic book collector. Because if you look in comic book collectors that are familiar with Spawn, they know what they have, they know they're expensive, and you're not going to get a deal. So again, I got these fairly cheap. This guy obviously knew what he had. I didn't steal anything, but again, I'm glad to get him. Next, we have a box, and I'm quite sure this is going to be a slab, just by the weight of it. And people often ask about shipping slabs, and I actually made a video on this. It's something to be aware of if you're not familiar with it. You should be able to ship a slab, depending on the book. Now, there's some of your super thick ones and whatnot that kind of don't use this same philosophy, but for about 2 pounds. And 2 pounds is that magical number where you can usually ship stuff that 2 pounds or cheaper than you can flat rate. Now, if it goes over 2 pounds, it's 2 pounds 3 ounces, for example, it's almost cheaper to flat rate it, depending on where you're shipping to. What I normally do, kind of the way that I ship a Spawn book, a slab, my mind is 5 minutes ago, is I will weigh it, put it the way I always do, which is I usually kind of make a mini box around it, and then bubble wrap that, and then stick it in a priority box, not a flat rate box. And then I reinforce the edges that you seal, with another strip of cardboard. And the reason for that is then it's harder for it to squish down, and that's what you're trying to avoid. The idea being that a lot of those boxes are going to get stacked on top of one another, and that the pressure from a bunch of boxes pushing down can potentially crush a box, crush the slab, crack a slab, then you've got problems. So what I usually do is I'll reinforce the edges, this edge and this edge, with another little strip of cardboard that goes like across here, and then put your tabs on top of that, and that tends to keep the box from getting squished, which keeps the slab from getting damaged. So we have, indeed, it's packed okay. Could be better. I mean, at least there's no bubbles flying all over the place. The proof really is going to be in the pudding, which is, let's look at it when it comes out of here. And again, slab boxes are kind of weird that you want to get a right size. I do kind of know what this is, I think. And this is a book that I just bought a while back. A 9.4 Spider-Man 2099 second print. This book never saw the shelves as a comic book, basically. It saw the shelves as a action figure. I do have the action figure over there. What happened is it had a comic and then the 2099 Spidey action figure in front of it. And the reason this sells for a lot of money is A, it's low print, so it's got the rarity effect. And also, because of the way the box was constructed for the action figure, these tended to get damaged. Typically, right about here by this guy's hand, sorry for the glare, by this guy's hand, you had a bend where the bubble, which the action figure sat in, met the card. And what happened is a lot of times the way they were packaged, it caused it to bend, and the weak point being that area right there. And that's where you'd get a real bad spine tick. There are a lot of pressers that can, as long as it doesn't break color, there's a lot of folks that can get those out, so it's worth getting. Like I mentioned, I have one still in the, but I hate to break it open just to get the comic out of it. I do think I have a 9.8, I really do, but I decided instead to buy a 9.4. That was kind of within my budget. It's still what I consider a near mint book. I know I've talked about this many times. I'm not one of these 9.8 or nothing kind of people. 9.4 satisfies me just fine. Um, and also, I do have a feeling that what's happening to Miles Morales right now, and I'm sure you know about this, the Ultimate Fallout #4 is going completely bananas, breaking $1,000 easily for 9.8s and stuff like that. What I'm thinking is the same thing's going to happen probably to Spidey 2099 once again the previews come out. I think Miles and um, Spidey 2099 are going to be um, kind of the two predominant characters in the next Spider-Verse movie. I know they will probably bring in some other people that we haven't seen before. But I think those two are going to be kind of the anchors, and I wouldn't doubt if Spidey 2099 gets his own kind of spin-off movie or something like that. I know there's a lot of so very definitely a rabid fan base. He's a Latin character, so he brings that to the table. And again, there's all kinds of people. I know sometimes when you get people um, that are international comic book collectors, it just kind of broadens the hobby a little bit. So I think, once again, that's kind of a good thing. But I'm happy with that book. It looks like it survived the trip just fine. No problems or whatever. And again, there's a lot of people that will buy these in 9.4, 9.6 and think that they can, what happened is often people just pulled them out of the comic book out of the um, action figure and sold the action figure separate and just sent this straight off to CGC thinking that, well, because it didn't have any readers, buddy reading it, popping it open and bending it and getting spine stress and things like that, that it was going to grade 9.8. But again, there's that spine tick in there that they didn't think about. And a lot of times people will crack these, press them, try to get that spine tick out and see if they can get it regraded. I'm not real big on popping plastic. I think honestly it's a little bit of a pipe dream. That's just my opinion. And like I said, I'm perfectly happy with the 9.4. I'm not going to complain about that. So there we go. Let's open another little one. This is a small little thing for a 9.4, and I got a bunch of little weak pair of scissors here. So let's see what it is. This one I'm not even going to bother taking out of the top because they put. This is my mailer. They looks like they kind of made a cardboard mailer, which is a good one. It's double, triple cardboarded, and in here they've got like a little band holding in the comics. Oh, wow. Okay. This was from the auction. This is from, oh my goodness, I'm completely spacing on the name. Starts with a B. Not Bam or Ben, but anyway, these were freebies that we won. We did a dollar auction, and we could claim books. Somebody bought it. I think I'm trying to think who did that. Again, forgive me for not remembering this stuff. I should have, but I wasn't thinking that was here. But anyway, make a long story short, this was an auction win where somebody came and did basically A-OK, bought the entire anybody that wanted to pull. So I pulled a couple books because nobody was speaking up. I pulled The Spawn, which is the movie Go Along. Surprisingly cheap book. I think it's, I don't know if a lot of people know it exists. And then I also got my Shazam Zero or number one, excuse me. I sold mine with a lot long time ago, and that's just a replacement. And this belongs to Jay Blitz. This is Saga number 31, I believe, and that was his book. What we did is, I've got a shipment going out to Jay Blitz, so what we did is just had him ship it here, and then I'll just add it to the package for Jay Blitz. It kind of saves from having to do a double shipment. And I will put down in the comments whose auction this was and who sent it, because you did a great job. Thank you. No way did anything get damaged. Also, we paid for priority shipping, and sure enough, he sent it priority. Sometimes people will charge you priority and send it, especially if it's just 2 or 3 books, they'll do it cheap. See if I can. I don't want to give away your real name, but all I can say is again, thank you, and I'll give you a shout out down below. As far as who that was, you did a great job. This, I think, is going to be from Chad, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, where's this from? Doesn't really say. Yeah, this is from Chad. And this is going to be some Nova books from an auction win I had. And I have most of the Nova run. And as a seasoned collector knows, there's 2 books that you always want, other than the super keys. If there's a major first appearance or something like that, obviously you want it. But the other book that you always want is the very last one. And people wonder why, and the answer to that is, if a series is kind of on life support and isn't doing real well and has gotten canceled, often what happens is those last few issues, and especially the last issue, is underprinted and not very, there's not highly circulated, because people have already given up on the series. They know it's going to be the end, and they don't think a lot about it. Then, inevitably, what Marvel does especially is they revamps the series, and it'll go back up again. But again, people often don't think about that. So here's what we have. In no particular order, we've got Nova 17. These are basically the later printings of the book. I have most of the early ones. 19, 20, 22, and a lot of these, even though they're later on, and I think they were doing this intentionally, trying to kind of get the popularity of the character kind of revitalized, is there's a lot of first appearances in this later series, in the later books, because again, I think what they were doing was trying to get their readership. This is the big one. This is the last issue, issue number 25. If you see this in your dollar boxes, if you see this in your LCS and it's not terribly expensive, if it's a good condition book, my recommendation heavily would be to pick this up. Other than number 1 and some of the first appearances, depending on what characters they use in the movie, this is probably the second most collectible book in the whole entire run, just because again it's underprinted and there's not a lot of them out there. 26. Let me show you how it looks, the entire thing. Wait, did I say 26? Why did I say 25 was the last issue? Doesn't make sense. Does it say last issue? Final battle? Doesn't make sense. Maybe 26 is the last issue. I don't know. 13. 12. And this is one of the cooler, too. This is Spider-Man cover. And 11. And Chad just put a piece of paper in there so he knew whose stuff was whose. And then I also won a contest. The question was something along the lines of where was the house on the rock? And being from Wisconsin, born and raised, I kind of knew the answer to that right away. So I answered Wisconsin, and I was correct, and this is what I won. This is the variant, or the copy of American Gods #1. And that was correct. I incorrectly thought it was Design, the house by Andrew Lloyd Wright, because I know I always associated him with, I know he did a lot of work in Milwaukee area and also in he also did a lot of work in Los Angeles as far as designing and stuff like that. But it wasn't him. Turns out it was somebody else. So my apologies if I gave that wrong information. I'm a little perplexed about issue 26, though. I thought 25 was the last one, and I'm sure enough this is 26. Hmm. So maybe this isn't the last. I don't know, but 25 is definitely an iconic cover. I'm gonna check that out. If you guys know, put it down in the comments and let me know what's going on. I will probably have researched it by then, but I'm curious. And this is my last box. This is the final one. This is a pretty big one too. And this feels like a stack of books, well shipped. What they did is they did the old clamshell thing with the bubble wrap, which is something I try to do as well. I will, when you wrap the comics with the bubble wrap, it kind of sticks over the ends, and then if you just put a little tape on both sides, it makes this cool little comic compartment, which works real well. And we are going to reuse that. We've got an inner bunch of bubble wrap. Kind of, oh, it's one of those little bubble wrap bags. Oh, I know what this is. I know what this is. Check this out. This is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Greg Horn, number 26 or 25, with the first appearance of Virus on the cover. And it's signed by our man, Greg Horn. We've got one. We've got two. Comes with a COA. I think these are limited. Let's see if it says. Not sure what I'm not sure if these were limited production or not. But anyway, two signed. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then just the basic trade dress, unsigned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those as well. Now, little secret, these aren't all mine, so don't hit me up. I reordered a bunch, some friends. I can do a shout out, Jay Blitz and Shorty, Short Box Padua. We all were talking on the phone when I found that ad, and we kind of got together, and you know how people do. I'll take one, I'll take two, I'll take. So we ordered a bunch. Most of those are actually going to Shorty. So if you see them and you want to maybe talk to her, she would probably be your best bet trying to buy one or two. They're not going to be cheap, but I don't know what shoes. I know that they were not cheap to begin with, but again, that's between, you know, I don't know if she's selling them or what. Maybe she has friends as well, but again, the person to speak to is her. And that is all. So, guys, thanks for watching. Please leave a like. Information, let me know about that Nova, because I am completely perplexed. I thought for sure 25 was the last issue. I could probably stop and look it up and find out what happened quick, but I thought 25 was the final issue of Nova. Apparently it isn't. Went on at least to 26, and again, we'll go from there. So once again, guys, thanks for watching. I will talk to you later, and bye for now. Peace.